Well, friends, we've made it. Our 2025 Camp View Northern Tour has finally reached its conclusion. We've seen ghost towns, national parks, and tried our hand at fishing. We succeeded with our main goal, filming campgrounds for our website, Camp View. But it's been a long 3 weeks and we're ready to get home and start a new chapter. So join us for this final episode as we reflect on what we accomplished and explain what is next.
Certainly, if YouTube would pay all of the bills consistently, and not only that, pay the bills so I could afford my mortgage, which is reasonable in this day and age. I bought I don't know how many, over 10 years ago now. So I think rent is now officially more than my mortgage. Just that happens with time if you're lucky. I bought at a good time. Amy and I bought, I should say, it's our house. But if it took care of all that and let me save for retirement at a reasonable rate, and I had the health insurance coverage that I want, especially after having cancer, then I would be doing this full time. No question about it. Who wouldn't want to? I mean, it's basically almost like you're on vacation. Some people, it might be a bit much, and it can be a lot of work, and it's tiring at times, but I absolutely would. But I know, doing my own math, I watch other YouTubers that a lot of you think we make a lot of money, and that you always hear people say you don't. You could have over 100,000 subscribers, 200,000 subscribers, and you hear other YouTubers, you see them, they struggle in life, they struggle to pay the bills, even when they have over 200,000 subscribers, right? It's, AdSense, the way that you get paid from commercials, is not the best strategy. It is one money-making mechanism, but you don't make as much off of merch as you would think you would. But you could see the kind of numbers you need, and for being a small niche like we are, really filming subject matter that appeals to an older demographic, 50-year-olds and older, and a lot of retirees, we don't pull in the big numbers. And I know that, and I'm okay with it. I don't want to deal with younger crowds. That's where you have more problems with trolls and just idiots. So I like the way things are, but sometimes people make comments and say, "Oh, Glenn, you're so lucky to be able to do this." And I think the underlying insinuation is you think that I'm doing it full time, you think that I'm making a good living doing it, but you're dreadfully wrong. But maybe some of you don't mean that, and what you rather mean is I have my health, right? And I'm able to do it because of my health. That I agree with you on. I am very fortunate to have my health and mental faculties and the desire to want to do it. So if that's what you mean, you're absolutely right. But if you think for a second it's anything about, there's a financial thing behind really powering it, you couldn't be further from the truth. The reason why I want to say that is trying to make a point. You can do this too, right? Don't say, you're lucky to be able to do this, Glenn. Any of you can do this. You just gotta do it. You don't need anything fancy. You can use your phone. But let me pause on that for a second while we drive back into Nevada again and enjoy this. I don't want to give a sermon here in the middle of driving over the Hoover Dam. That just seems sacrilegious in a way. But that building there too, the one that says Hoover Dam 1931 to 1935, that's a little museum, and they've got some retro, really cool vintage displays, like this 3D map where I think you could push buttons and light up different landscapes to understand the geography and location of things in the region. I like that. That was actually really cool just for that retro feel. I hope they're not gonna get rid of it. And I know this thing's been under construction. Even the last time I was here, they were roping things off, if I remember. So they're doing some kind of restorative work, I think. And there's your visitor center to the left, where you would go in, get your tour scheduled, or There's an observation thing up on the roof, I think, if you want. You don't have to do the dam tour, but why wouldn't you want to, unless you have a fear or some reason. And then, of course, there's the parking structure, the parking garage, where I always parked, food and gift shop. So you can make a day of this, a very comfortable, fun day, for all ages, I would say. Old and young. I think it would impress anybody. It's one of the marvels of man, I think, is our ability to do things like this. And then you add this bridge and the engineering behind this thing. And it's just really one of the best places I know of to marvel at man's engineering in our country. It's fantastic. So anyway, last thing to say is, yes, don't think for a second that you can't do YouTube. You can. And if you do a niche thing like this, just be patient. You will build an audience. I firmly believe that any personality is going to attract others. And I can tell you, getting the numbers we have, which I think are meager, some of you think that's a lot, but I think we've done better than some, but with time, you're gonna get there. It's just the rate at which you get there is really the question. And if you're gonna do niche, like chill, calm things, you're probably gonna grow slower, because violence and emotional content, just like the news on TV, that's really what sells. That's really what the algorithm pushes, which is where I get frustrated with the whole system. But that's just human behavior. So it's hard to be mad at YouTube when really what's driving it is the human demand for sensational things like that. Sex, violence, anger, hate, politics. That's really what people are drawn to. And that's why I want to continue to do this even louder and longer, is as a counteractive force to that, even though I'm not going to put a dent in that, for people that need to get away. That's really what this whole trip, just as a reminder, has been all about. For me, is trying to create that space for anybody, any religious belief, any political belief, I don't care. As long as you don't bring it in here, we're good. Because everybody needs a break. Everybody needs to breathe a little bit. But if you're going to be like that, just know, like in that first year, you're going to be in the first few months, you might get like 1 or 2 subscribers and then really wonder, is anybody paying attention? Like, why is this happening? Just hang with it. Probably after a year or so, you'll start to see a little bit more results, but the algorithm does not trust immediately. So if you're gonna do it, you're gonna also do it because you have a passion for doing it. And if you don't have the passion for doing it, it's probably not a good move, to be honest with you. Unless you have some really novel idea, you're a Mr. Beast or Mark Rober or somebody like that. Don't expect great heights, because it doesn't happen for almost everybody. But if it gets you out of the house, it makes you healthier, makes you happier, which is really what it's done for me, then you should, I would say, 100% do it. All right, I plotted my next stop where I'm doing the camp view business. I'm probably gonna stop in between there. I'm just gonna impromptu at this point. I didn't jip or take away from quantity other when I switched the hike around. We just did something a little different instead. But I should be probably 2.5 hours to get to where the camp view thing is, and where the end of the video technically is, deep in Arizona. I'm not going to take it all the way home to my house. I'm going to stop before then, but I think the way I have it mapped out in my head is appropriate. But in between here and there, probably some leg stretches are going to be in order. Probably need to fuel up at some point. There's plenty of places I'll be able to do that. And of course, some road retrospection, which obviously I just started some of that back there. I told you, the Pacific time zone, guys. I told you this would be kind of a retrospective return home, where we kind of reflect on the trip. We reflect on the future of the channel a little bit, my future, what I'm going to be doing, what I'm probably already doing at this point in time that you're seeing it, actually, hopefully. So we're going to cover all of that here in between now and that. So a lot of talking from the road, but with views like this, I mean, why not? I'd say grab a cup of coffee if you already haven't. Grab a water if you're like me and want to stay hydrated. And get ready to pee, because if you drink water and coffee, you're gonna have a problem. That's one thing that I'm not too smart about, is like I'm gonna be probably having to stop a lot in an hour or so. So I think what I might want to do here is cross the bridge, get over to the other side, and then I'll probably chill for a little bit with the talking. Maybe just get some road footage with some music overlaying it. You know how we do it. And then when we get out to a point where I feel like it and I know what I want to say, probably got to think about what I want to say a little bit. We'll be chatting, of course. But let's hang out for a little longer here in Nevada. Our last moments really in Nevada, even though we just were in Arizona, back in Nevada. I'm thirsty again. I've been pounding the waters too. Really, last night I drank nothing but water. Ate dinner in the room. Got some microwavable goods just to be budget friendly, and pounded the waters, and I'm still thirsty. It's really the desert and the dryness. I can tell you now that I've gone from all these different regions to here. It's no lie. Like, you will get the moisture sucked right out of you, and this place wants to turn you into a living mummy, basically. So if you ever come out west and you hear people say drink water, you really should. Sometimes it sneaks up on you because you don't sweat as much either, because the air is so dry that the perspiration just evaporates immediately. So you don't really feel like you're losing water sometimes when you actually are losing lots of water. All right, we're taking our final approach, people, to get back into my home state once and for all on this trip. Hopefully not once and for all forever. I don't think, I know in my heart that's not true. I'm actually going back with much hope and excitement in a way. All right, and just as we drove over the dam just a little while ago and went from Nevada to Arizona, we're about to do the same thing on the bridge. You won't be able to see anything, by the way. The barriers are too high to see over. But just know, for this brief moment of time as we cross the bridge, just think of us sitting on our butts here in the truck, and how below our butts is just air. I'm just gonna keep rolling here, and maybe we'll see where the Nevada sign is as we come down this way. Strong crosswind possible next 1 mile. No doubt. Like you saw it yourself, there's always wind up here, so pay mind to that. That is no lie. You could see like all of the electric lines. What are those called again? I know the term for them, it's just on the tip of my tongue. Whoa, my truck's being pushed from side to side here by the wind. It's real, it is real. There's the bridge, you can probably see the edge of it, but this wind star is really doing something I think dangerous. If you want me to tell you the honest truth, the speed limit's 65 and he's going like 35. Slow down. Why? I don't know. Whoever owns the Windstar company, please comment down below. And why is your bus driver doing something kind of silly like that? Is it to get people views? Because they're sitting, it's like a double decker. Maybe that's what it is, but I don't think that's right. Although there's not a lot of traffic now either, so. She just said, welcome to Arizona. So there's one of Arizona's better welcome signs. Usually they're these piddly small things. They actually spent $1 or $2 on this one. But unfortunately, you really can't pull over on the shoulder here. You're not supposed to, I don't think. to get a picture with it. So Arizona, you need to up your game in other places. I keep telling you that. Do more of that. Spend $1. Encourage people to want to come. Not that you really need to sell much. It's really a fantastic state. But you're now looking at Arizona soil, everybody. I am back home, technically. My driver's license matches the state in which I find myself now. And my ears just popped. I don't know how many times I popped my ears on this on this trip. A lot. Okay, now we're going back into the Mojave Desert. Not that we were technically in it, even when we were in Boulder. If you didn't know that, the Mojave kind of dips into Arizona, and the route we're taking home, you actually go through a region where you start to see a mixture of plants from the Mojave, things like Joshua trees even in Arizona. So I've shown that on other episodes. And saguaro cacti. I found areas where you kind of can find both things at once. And it's evidence of two deserts kind of colliding, the Sonoran Desert and the Mojave Desert. There's probably a scientific term for those regions that I don't really know in my vocabulary. But the concept is known, the concept has been witnessed and shown. But yeah, if you didn't know that, you know, this northern part of Arizona, like probably around Kingman North, is going to be like your Mojave Desert vibes. And then once you go south of Kingman, it starts to fade slowly until it transitions to our familiar saguaro cacti and what you think of when you think of Phoenix, Tucson, the Sonoran Desert. And from here, like I said, I'm gonna take a little break from filming, take a little coffee half hour, I don't know, and get even more caffeinated so I can start to chat about our little trip retrospection and kind of telling you how I feel. You know, this is a post-cancer thing that I just did. Maybe a message of hope for some. I'm hoping to convey some of that and to reveal my plans as of right now for the near future and how that might pertain to this channel. My thoughts about doing things on this channel has fluctuated over time, ranging from just stopping doing it to doing it really sparsely to what I think it's actually gonna be, something in between. But let me drink coffee and think about how I want to market that. So I'm looking up the highway up there towards where we came from, Nevada. We're in Arizona once again, still. We're not going to leave Arizona, and that's the way home. I've always driven by the scenic overlook, and I've never stopped. And it's quite nice. But you don't really see as much as the river as I thought you might, but there's your Colorado River. We've actually been down there somewhere. There's the ghost town of Nelson, Nevada. Somewhere down in this area. There are beaches you can get to. Somewhere down there. Drone-friendly skies. I've flown my drone. Maybe we could put some of that footage up here at the moment. I think it's the El Dorado Mountains and El Dorado Canyon. Not saying we're looking at that. I couldn't tell you if it's further south of here or a little bit north, but it's somewhere in this vicinity. Probably somewhere when I pan the landscape is almost certainly that area, even if it's obstructed by some of the mountains here. But another example of the richness of things to do in this area. Although I will give you a disclaimer, I like Nelson Ghost Town, but to me it's a complete tourist trap. And I'd say the authenticity, you know, it's an Old West ghost town, and more I research, there's probably not as much there as you might think from the real Old West, as many ghost towns are, as things evolved over the years, but it's still really cool. And aesthetically, if you're a photographer or whatever, that's where I would recommend you go. And if you read the history in the background for it, it was one of those really rough and tumble Civil War era or post-Civil War era towns with a lot of murder and mayhem. So, kind of cool. And I know somewhere down there too, I don't think we passed the sign for Willow Beach. It's probably coming up, but that's where you would do that Emerald Cave. I bet you Emerald Cave is, see that bend in the river? My guess is it's on the other side of that bend, if I remember. I don't remember going around a bend like that, or we may have come, I think I came up to the bend. I could be wrong, but I have an instinct that the Emerald Cave might be on the other side of that mountain there on the river. If we haven't passed Willow Beach yet, which I don't think we did, it's not a bad paddle. And yes, you do paddle upstream, and people ask me about that. It's wind that you really need to be cognizant about. There's really very little current. It moves really slow. So going upstream is like paddling almost like on a lake. So if there's no wind, you're good. I've actually paddled downstream in the afternoon when the wind picked up in an inflatable kayak, and my gosh, I didn't know if I could get back. And I was going with the current, right? So people ask that once in a while, so I'm just mentioning that here in case you want. Go check out the other video and you'll see the whole thing happen. But anyway, just trying to describe generally what's down in this region, in this area. And like I said, there's much more to explore than that. So I need to get the SS Baller back out, my inflatable kayak, for lack of a better name. That's what I'm still calling it. Even though recently we've gotten comments with a couple good ones that I might want to consider. I have to remember what they were. But anyway, beautiful landscape. One of my favorite in the US. I don't know what it is about the coloration of the mountains here too. It's just like a chocolate mousse with like maybe some caramel mixed in. I don't know, but it's like darker colors. It's just a fantastic region. Not the best time of day to be filming, and kind of hazy and dusty down there, but definitely worth a look-see, for sure. All right, I have actually put new batteries in this GoPro and the one on the roof, well, I was at 100% a second ago. Now we're at 98% on one. See how fast they drain? And I'm using Enduro batteries. Anyway, I decided, why don't we have our little chat? I thought of a slight issue with having this chat and the timing of this coming when I predict this will come out. So things that I say now likely won't change, but I guess it'll be interesting to just tell you my thoughts about YouTube, the future of what I want to do on this platform, you know, how this trip affected me, all of it. I think it's all positive, good news, but I figure while we're here and I'm feeling caffeinated still, it's probably the best time, just making sure everything's secure the way it needs to be in here. Everything looks good. So why don't I get up to speed here, because I'm just accelerating on the highway and got to get up to 65 here, and then we're going to go back to the future. Although that would be 55, not 65, so. Still very windy, by the way. I'm getting blown from side to side. This area, it's very rare that there's not wind, and I would definitely hear me very carefully, because I think Willow Beach is coming up, the turnoff for it soon. And some of you might go watch, I think it's right up here. Some of you might watch that video and want to do that trip, and I want you to hear me. Don't worry about the current. Worry about the wind. Worry about the wind, you know, because that's what's going to kill you. That's what's going to get you in trouble when you're kayaking. Check the weather. Make sure there's not going to be a thunderstorm. Make sure you know what the wind speed is going to be in the afternoon, especially. Maybe take a tour group if you don't know what I'm talking about, and let them worry about those details. But if you're gonna do it yourself, worry about the wind. I'm just saying it clearly because people don't hear that. And then they'll ask questions, the wrong questions basically. But I guess we could show footage while I'm saying all this stuff. Hopefully we're showing like B-roll and footage of that. But by the end, I don't know if I lost my lunch, because it was such a feat to paddle back that it's kind of when you run and you haven't run in a while. Maybe you do cross country and you go to your first practice and you lose your breakfast afterwards. Had that kind of moment basically on that day, if I remember. It's no joke. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking, on the way back home. Before or even now, going back a year or so, I was laid off at the very tail end of 2023. So in 2024, like end of 2023, going into 2024, I wanted to take a break from my software engineering job. To grow the Cactus Atlas was the initial thing. And then I just that's when I really started doing more math and really having a reality check about the possibilities and realized, the level of effort is not worth the payoff for me. And it was becoming not fun during that time. So the juice was not worth the squeeze, is kind of what I determined. And it wasn't as passive of a revenue stream as I had originally thought. So I wanted to create something that was a little bit more passive in nature, where the content was more evergreen, meaning I film it once and it retains its value and usefulness a little bit better than trying to entertain people and feed the algorithm as much. Enter CampView. And that's where I kind of came up with CampView as in early 2024. I wanted to just create something going around, basically doing Google Street View for campsites is exactly how I would describe it. But instead of still photography, I'm doing video past drive-thrus. So that way people that camp like me, that are crazy about camping, in particular about the sites they want to reserve, have a very good visual intel before they go. So that's the problem I was trying to solve. And I knew most campgrounds don't change over the years. The site numbers remain the same. There are exceptions, I know, but for the most part, there's your evergreen, filming in 4K, filming a subject that really is as timeless as you're probably gonna find, other than rocks. And move towards building a community outside of YouTube, i.e. a website with user comments, user reviews, user interaction. That's what the CampView app is, and it's pretty much done. It better be out by now by this video. It probably came out months ago at this point. But that's really what I was trying to shift to before I went back into the world of being employed by somebody else, was to establish the beginnings of a more solid passive revenue stream, diversifying my digital portfolio. And then the Cactus Atlas was to become a more of a do it when I feel like it thing, but certainly not weekly, and certainly not trying to keep up with that grind anymore. So that was all last year. So just like on this trip, where the primary goal was to get campground drive-thrus and expand my catalog with really high search volume parks, Glacier National Park, Yellowstone, Grand Teton, for example. If that watch the road trips, this whole thing covers it all. If you've just caught up now and you haven't seen those, go back. Last summer was the same thing, except I went up the Eastern Sierra, starting from Joshua Tree to Kernville, all the way up to Yosemite. Made a couple trips up and down the Eastern Sierra and also into southern Utah, and got a couple of their national parks to add to the Big Five collection. So that last summer was not unlike what I just did, except it was split into 3 trips, not just this one 3-week trip, but each of those is probably about 2-week-long trips. So that's what last year was about. The goal was to work through the summer months when all these locations were open. The snows had not come yet. By the end of the summer, around September, the goal was to come home, get something out with the CampView app to explain my employment gap, to show that I hadn't lost my skills in that period of time, to wow future employers. And then I found out I had cancer. So that made a major delay in my life. So what was supposed to be, less than a year hiatus it was probably on target to be about a year since the layoff, with all that said and done and doing the app, has now turned into almost 2 years. We're not at the 2-year mark yet, but you can't control these things in life. So I went through that, the whole horror of discovering you have cancer, worked through that, then the treatment, 35 days of radiation treatment, being strapped to a table, having highly energized particles, I think protons, like using newer radiation technology, proton beam therapy, shot into my mouth, my nasopharynx, my soft palate, basically my mouth and head, to eradicate a tumor that had been growing in there for years. All with a good prognosis, the type of cancer, very likely to pull through it, and I have. And the prognosis gets better all the time based on various factors. Got through the treatment. Turns out the treatment was the easiest part of the journey. I'm not even lying. And then once after that, then you got to deal with the pain, and then you really realize the toll that chemotherapy and radiation takes on the body and the mind, your mental state. And that's been the last few months, has been that. But rather than just sit down and take it, I haven't released anything. Like, if you've been following us, there was a big period of time where I stopped releasing because I was putting all of my efforts into finishing the CampView app. I had to put YouTube aside or else it was never going to get done. And I did it. And actually at this point in time, I'm heading home, and I decided not to release it before my trip because I want to be there to observe logs and things in case there are problems, watch rates on my account, all of that stuff. But I've got a little bit of cleanup to do, stylistic cleanup, but the bulk of it's done. All of the user login, going home, the hard stuff is done. So just dusting off is what remains at this point in time. All right, so I brought you up to CampView, CampView, where I got to, and where we're at now, basically. And the app should have been done like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I don't know. But throughout cancer treatment, that just puts a stop to everything mentally. I did have a few times where I literally was getting chemo infusions. You're there for hours, and I brought my laptop and I'd code and work on it. But yeah, as time went on, it just slipped, because especially after treatment is the hardest time, in my opinion. You go through the time of dealing with the highest levels of pain. It peaks after treatment's done. You're going to be on opioid painkillers, all that kind of crap. Got through all that. And then from there, it's just your body is transformed so much. You're weak, you're tired, you're healing, you can't taste anything. It's just kind of miserable. It's hard. And then it just takes months to get back to normal. In fact, I'm probably about the 6-month mark, a little over that, post-treatment. It's not unheard of, based on my research, that people are out of the game for a year. So I'm halfway, 6 months, and I am ready to go back. So maybe that's testament to proton beam therapy. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that area, but I know it's not unheard of for people that take much longer. I'm also on the younger side at 50 years old. I'm not in my 60s or 70s dealing with this. So that works to my advantage. But I'm forever changed. I'm pretty confident I'm not going to get back my full taste faculties. I still have maybe months of healing left to do. It will get better. It has been getting better. But I find it hard to believe that I'm just going to be exactly whole again. But I processed all that. I have accepted it, and I'm good with it. It doesn't slow me down anymore. But, through that time, mentally, I guess you get depressed. I don't know how. I've never really, I could tell you for sure, I know now I've never experienced what clinical depression probably is. Maybe as a moody teenager at times and thought I was depressed, but I wasn't depressed. I've definitely had anxiety in life, but I don't think I've ever really had depression or really knew what it was all about until this snuck up on me. But I can tell you, once I kicked CampView back into gear and I started coding every day again, that was the start of the getting back on track. So, this is probably a couple months ago now. But physically, though, I was just sitting on my butt, not doing anything. My legs had turned into, they probably still are, into toothpicks, lost a lot of muscle, lost a lot of weight. You could probably see videos of me. I probably still look thinner now than I did in old Cactus Atlas videos. I'm pretty confident about that. Haven't weighed myself, but I know my pants are much looser. I haven't bought new clothes. I refuse to. But that definitely doing things like cinching my shorts and tightening my belt, well past where the last loop should be. So I've definitely still well under, maybe 30 pounds less than I weighed before this all started. So you can see it's a real thing. And if you know anybody that goes through it and you think they're gonna just snap their fingers like at some point and be like normal, I got news for you, pal, or whoever. It's not how it works. Unless you're extraordinary or something, it takes time. And I know there are people that work through all of it. And my hat is off to you, because I know how hard that is too. Could I have done it and worked through it if I had to? I think so, but I would not have been giving my best at all. I would have to have a really understanding boss or company to allow me to continue to work through the brunt of those things. But that's what cancer is. And I'm the fortunate case. I had a really treatable form, but the treatment itself, I had one of the longer treatment timelines and a brutal one. So it's like I got to experience a really rough type of treatment that I hope none of you ever have to experience, basically. So getting the CampView app out before I return to the employ of somebody else is super important for multiple reasons. I really wanted to build that foundation, the really strong foundation, and have a healthy offering of content, which I already had before the trip, but now I put on top of it Glacier National Park, Tetons, Yellowstone, all of the state parks, everything we just did. So it's for that reason, and then I can kind of build it at my leisure now and add more content over time and have a hobby that pays. But also to really show that not only have my skills not stagnated over time throughout this period, I've actually 1-upped or 10-upped in multiple areas, incorporated AI workflow into something I didn't do at my last job, I can tell you that. It's kind of early on for AI anyway, but to really showcase, when I say I'm a full stack developer, it's not BS. I'm not a generalist, like, oh, I do front end and that. I am an expert, and you can judge my website. Go, if you're a developer, you tell me. Database, back-end APIs, front-end, styling, everything. I'm no BS, and I want to be loud and clear about that. Because I don't think you find a lot of people that can say that, if you want me to, in my experience. But I also think where I've worked, the types of companies I worked for, I haven't had exposure to the cream of the crop at all times. Some really influential, important people in my careers have crossed paths in these jobs, but maybe there are companies where I'm a dime a dozen. But I think it's very important for my career and the next phase for what I'm trying to do to really showcase that through the CampView app. So that was another huge reason through cancer why I just went all in with this thing, and why it's so important, I think, to the continuation and going to newer heights in my career, and most importantly, finding the right fit for me in the next job. So how this trip feeds into all of that is about a little over 3 weeks ago now, I was working heavily on the CampView app for a couple months, sitting on my butt, body still healing, but feeling better. However, still very weak, very mentally, almost afraid of the world. Combine it with all the negativity in news outlets. Doesn't matter what politics you follow. I think it's the same for everybody. To me, it's fatiguing. I'm done with it. But it brought me down a little bit. Just distrusting of the world at this point. kind of living under a rock, for real, under my roof, but not getting out. It all contributed to like a mental state where I wasn't even sure I could do this trip. I had planned it. I knew I had to plan it. I was running out of time, but I did. And thank goodness I did, because what I found is getting out into the world, meeting other people on the road, when you go camping especially, on the back forest roads, you run into people. I didn't run into one nasty person, only kindness, generosity, and happiness. And I guarantee you, 100% guarantee you, politics wasn't discussed once with anybody, but I guarantee you, I ran into people from every side of politics, every belief system, every religious belief. And everybody out there in the world, when you're face to face and you make eye contact with people and you get off the goddamn social media, people don't behave in reality like you see on TV. I think people want you to believe that's how it is, but I'm here to tell you it's not. So if you're dealing with a hard time, if you're stuck in that mode, you have cancer, get out of your dang house when you can. And it'll transform you again. It'll re-energize you and give you hope. I'm confident of that. That's what I found on this trip. I proved to myself, not only did I get it done, I found an endless well of energy again. I felt better on this trip. These 3 weeks, I didn't falter once. And a year ago on that trip last summer, I was canceling my trips early. I'm so tired. I can't get it done. I'm disillusioned about this or that. Might have been the cancer. Maybe the thing growing in me was making my body work overtime and making me fatigued. That's very possible. Didn't watch what I ate as much. Didn't eat enough calories on the last trip, so paid more attention to that this time. And everything was awesome. Not only did I get it done, I'm at the end of it, and I feel like more energy now than at the beginning of the trip. You'd think it would be the opposite. You'd think I'd be crawling home, right? But I'm not. So my message of hope to you is, if you're out there dealing with something rough, and you can hopefully have the time and be able to afford to do it, camping's pretty cheap. If you plan it right, gas is going to be a big expense, but if you can budget it out and do it, I can't recommend it enough. You must do it. And I think for some of you, unless you're really in dire straits with where you're at, especially health-wise, I think you really should try to get out there and do it, and it's going to transform you. Even if you have a couple years left. Like if they told me you had a couple years left to live, but I'm not yet experiencing bad times yet, and it probably was going to be months, a year or two to go, this is really what I was going to do anyway. Maybe like an early retirement where I'm making money meagerly on the side. It's real, and it's something that I hopefully this is the proof in the pudding. Seeing me talking in good spirits, going back to all this, and you see how I'm not worried. I'm not thinking about death or mortality. I really have no reason to at this point, even statistically. But that's not where my brain is. I am in a completely different mode. We're already in Kingman. Oh my gosh, I've been talking for a long time. That went by fast, that crossing here to Kingman. Wow. Anyway, probably an appropriate place to wind up this portion of the discussion. But life can be amazing, even in times that might feel dark for health reasons, for whatever. Don't give up, ever. And don't live in social media and darkness. Break free of it. Hopefully I'm helping some of you break free of that. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, like I said, everybody needs a break. Everybody just chill. But don't become complacent, though. I'm not, and stay informed. So I'm not saying that, but you need balance, is what I'm saying. And you need to dream Everybody needs to dream. And we're now about to get on Interstate 40 here in Arizona. Look at that vehicle. What the heck is that? What is that? That is amazing. I love that. It's like a time machine. So hopefully through all my journeys, you've seen that cancer can be, and cancer treatment, I should say, specifically, can be very rough. It just takes time. But you can, I believe, turn things around. And I hope anybody out there going through something similar to me can take this lesson, and maybe you're in the middle of it right now, and I'm showing you that life does start to return to normal, and not only can it return to normal, it can be better than it was the first time. And that's how I honestly feel right now. All right, I'm done preaching to you, but the video is not done yet. But we're getting there. Let's drive through the Kingman area. I always love this area of the drive, these buttes and things here in Kingman. It's really pretty, and I haven't been here in a long time. Look at the construction going on here. They're building like new exits and things here on the interstate, it looks like. Whoa. My, how things change quickly when you have been living under a rock. All right, here we are passing through Route 66 town. I think we got Route 66 anniversaries coming up, do we not? Or are we in the throes of it now, or is it next year? I don't know. Not a Route 66 aficionado like others, although I dig it. I'm cool with it. I dip my feet into the waters of Route 66 every once in a while, but anyway, this is Kingman, a town that I've stayed in. The Wallapai Mountains we're about to drive. We're driving around them right now, actually, and we're going to be driving on the east side of them. I've driven clean across them before in a video I made. If you want to see that, gotta get around these slope oaks. But yeah, I always like Kingman. Kingman has treated me well. And the nearby town of Oatman, a kind of an old ghost town, a tourist town. It's kind of like a Nelson to me. I would say kind of more tourist than, I mean, there's some authentic stuff there, don't get me wrong, but really cool area to explore. We got tons of videos in our back catalog. We've done a lot over the last 6 years, so, on this channel. Now, what about the Cactus Atlas? I'm gonna give you the impression here on August the 13th of 2025. Do I think, still like I've always maintained, I don't ever see the Cactus Atlas ever stopping it. But what I do think is that I'm not going to be chasing the weekly grind, even though you've seen week after week after week from this trip, this 3 weeks, stretched over months. What I kind of predict is, over the next few months, as this trip is being aired, I'll almost certainly be filming more and making other videos, but probably very sporadically. I'm going to be finding a new job, starting a new career, fully focused on that. Maybe not making videos for a few months during that time, or maybe 1 or 2 things that I want to do, but really just keeping the Cactus Atlas as a hobby, a paying hobby, and not worrying about the money, feeding the algorithm and the machine. I'm done with that part. I've been done with that for a long time. Not gonna play that game. But what I do see happening potentially is in the future is just, while I'm working a job, maybe once or twice a year, I go on a vacation for a week, doing the Cactus Atlas thing when I do it, see how many videos I can rack up, and then you'll probably just see spurts over time of maybe we don't release for a few weeks, maybe a couple months, it's quiet. Doesn't mean we're in trouble or doing badly, it's just how it's gonna be. And then all of a sudden you might see a run of videos for like 10 weeks or something like that. And then maybe another break. Then maybe a random video comes out because I made a local video or something like that. That's kind of how I see this channel proceeding. You've already gotten a taste of it. Last year at this point, I'm probably in 2026 now, like I said, referring back to 2025. You know, there's a period of time we were getting emails and messages, people checking in, are you okay? Or, you know, people were worried like that the silence might mean that I'm not doing well. It's not that at all. It's just, that's the way it's gonna be, I think, going forward. And I'm gonna be putting more time and effort in the camp view and something that I think I can make more money on as a passive revenue stream, which I know it's not as entertaining. It's not entertaining at all. It's a help tool, really. And it's also possible, I've thought of the possibility as I'm applying for the jobs that I want to get and being aggressive about it, I have timelines and checkpoints. So if by a certain date I'm not getting any bites and the job hunt is going kind of like how fishing went for me on this run, where I didn't catch anything, didn't get any bites, then I'm gonna start reducing my expectations. And out of necessity. Doesn't mean I'll end up in a bad situation. So I guess to tidy this up here, because this is gonna come out like 6 months from now, the main thing I'm trying to convey, I guess, is just the mental state when I'm thinking, coming off of this 3-week trip, coming off of the cancer treatment, all of it, going back to the next stage of my life. I don't really know like what will pan out, because if I'm right, this is about 6 months. You're seeing this about 6 months later from when it was recorded. So I might be making more Cactus Atlas videos between now and then. I may have taken another week-long trip and made another 10 weeks of videos. I may have not recorded anything. I don't know. But you kind of know my intent at this point and know how I'm feeling is the main point. And we've now gotten off of Interstate 40 and we're on to the next stretch, heading south towards Wickenburg, basically. We probably have a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours to go before we're really back in my neck of the woods. And then I've got about 52 minutes before we get to my last campground that I need to do my last camp view drive-through of the tour, and where I'm gonna say goodbye. We'll get out on foot. It's a cool area anyway. Show you a couple things, and then that's gonna be it. So I'm just gonna, I guess, stop filming for a little bit and stop talking, although talking made the time go by quickly. But that's your little retrospective moment on the last leg of the 2025 Camp View Tour on the Cactus Atlas. That hurt me. Woo! We are making our way deeper and deeper into Arizona. I didn't really capture it. There you go. There's some Joshua trees, like random ones. Arizona once again has a variety of them in this region. I want to say we might be approaching Wiki Up. I haven't really been paying close attention. But we're about 19 miles from the last stop, basically, that I'm planning. And just kind of wanted to capture some Arizona moments as we drive through here. Yeah, this must be the town of Wiki Up. Yep, this is Wiki Up, Arizona. Wiki Up, Wiki Down, Wiki Up. There are some, I think we've done some dirt road, and there's a road that lets out here. I forget the name of the road, but there's a lot of Joshua trees off to the west of here, I believe, near the Beer Garden Chicago-style eatery. And yeah, just there's a few saguaro, I think, that were planted on the roadside that are not probably indigenous to this area. But anywho, doing good, doing good. The caffeine is still powering me through this. The drive is going by very fast for me as I make my way home. But yeah, the landscape is looking more familiar. There's some of the saguaro off to the left. Maybe they do grow up this far. So maybe even in the same shot, I think I pointed out a Joshua tree and saguaro cacti. So remember earlier I was saying regions where deserts collide? We're kind of in that zone at this point where, yeah, these are the first saguaro I've noticed. There's one up there on the right. And they'll continue to get more and more and more. And I think there's a few more patches of like Joshua tree forest that we're gonna drive through south of where I'm gonna end the video. But I thought it would be interesting to show you a little bit of kind of what I'm getting at there, where you get to these transitional zones, and now the full weight of being back home is hitting, you know, seeing these familiar sights now. But like I said, it's not I don't feel like it's a bummer. Like, you know, sometimes you feel at the end of a trip, sometimes it's a bummer. You got to go back to work and do all of that. It's the opposite. It's, you know, having had those realizations, I think, that I kind of walked through, you know, on the drive, in the retrospection section, I guess we did. The dreaming, the hoping, the wanting to act on it. That's the difference, I think, that, you know, finding that in me and tying it all together after the trip makes it so it's a happy story, a happy ending, not a dread of having to go back to something like not so great. Well, my friends, I've unmounted the cameras, the camp view cameras and the front facing cameras and the me facing cameras. All the cameras are unmounted and put away. I just finished my last camp view run of the trip. I'm at Burro Creek Campground here in Arizona. It's hot. I'm guessing it's 102, 103 right now before 11 a.m. There's not a single soul in this campground, not one. Not one tent, not one RV, not one campground host. I think technically it's open. It's a BLM campground, self-pay. But technically, it's probably way too hot for anybody to want to be out here. So this is probably the very first camp view run I've done where I got an entire campground unpopulated. Every site was vacant. So that's awesome. That's really what I seek out on these if possible. So it's really a huge moment. I need to stand under the shade here, and that wind is hot. But if you've watched our channel, I've spent the night here before and did a video on this place. So check that out. It probably supplements the video well, this video well. We'll put a link down below if you ever want to camp here. Wonderful campground. Campground of the BLM once again. Got some amazing footage of the big bridge over that way, over Burro Creek, more than once, but got some drone footage of that. There's a creek that runs down here. It's probably pretty dry right now, and like, you know, there's probably sections with water in it, but not the ideal time of year to be out here at Burro Creek for recreation anyway. And there's lots of picnic areas, day use areas like I'm standing in here, so wonderful place. But that's it, everybody. That's the run, that's the show. 3 weeks from a Wednesday to a Wednesday on the dot. I did it. I did it. I did everything I set out to do. Well, we skipped a couple piddly stops that don't matter, but I did it. I did every major thing I set out to do. I'm proud of it. I get to go home, get the CampView app out, power it with all this data I've collected, content. Yeah. No, I'm stoked. This has been an amazing trip. And if you watched every single episode or most of them and came along with me for this ride, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're awesome. A lot of our viewers are really devoted, awesome people. I wish I could meet each and every one of you, but I shouldn't say I did it, we did it. If I didn't say we did it, I meant we did it together, like, and you guys came along. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And you heard my intent. I've expressed my intent for the future. I don't know what the future will hold. I hope it turns out like I'm planning or something awesome. There's so many possibilities. It doesn't really matter at this point. I'm returning home with positivity and hope like I have not had in like a year. Going through the struggles I've been through. Many of you have been along for the ride and kept up with it all, and thank you again. If that's you, you're amazing. I'm just processing this whole thing still. I can't believe I actually pulled this off. I can't believe I found the energy, the desire, the will, all of it. I don't know where it comes from. Maybe it was the food. Maybe it was the kale salads that I was eating. Maybe it comes from something deeper inside of all of us that we really can't describe. I don't know. But all I know is here we are, back in my home state of Arizona, the land of saguaro. They're all over the hill here. The only thing I regret is the heat. That dang heat. It is hot. But I've said that a million times. You know that by now. So these are the final words of the trip. I hope you got something out of it, mainly peace, a break from the craziness, a respite from whatever your struggles are, whatever you're going through. Hopefully I showed some of you that have rough times that in life you can take it by the reins and try to change things and turn them around. It is possible. It's there for the taking. All you gotta do is reach out and grab onto it. We also need to thank Slim, my pickup truck. Slim, we're taking a bow. If it wasn't for you, none of this would have been possible. All of the back forest roads, the grizzly country, everything we explored together, you, my man, are my best friend in life. Well, my wife is my best friend, but you're my next bestest friend. You know what I mean. But I want us all to say thank you, Slim. In the comments, everybody, please tell Slim thank you. He got me there and back safely. Well, I still got to get home, but for all intents and purposes, we're there. He always does not let me down. The best vehicle I've ever owned, bar none. Slim, I salute you. And so does the audience. Some of the audience really loves you.
Oh, love all of you too.
I think some of us are believing that you're a real entity here. So anyway, folks, from Slim, from me, from the bottom of our hearts, and Amy too, we all thank you very much. We appreciate you very much. Once again, hope this did something for you. And I'm just gonna leave it there. We're gonna see you at some point up the road. That's my intent. And until that next time, I hope everybody's doing well and keep on that path of life. Bye-bye.